All right. Hello, everybody. How we doing out there? It's Doc and Mab with ReadySetCrypto. Today is Wednesday, the 16th of March. Welcome aboard. Please do us a favor as you come in. Let us know where you're coming in from and give us a thumbs up to light up the channel. Let everybody else know that it's, we have started. We have begun. All right. Good to see everybody out there. We got Aussie Slade. We got Texas Dad. Hey, hey, hey. How we doing out there? Good to see everybody.
Connect.
Well, yeah, fantastic. Good to see you guys again. All right, we've already got coin requests coming in. All right, kick ass. We're having a great day in the market today. So we got the Fed out of the way, and I think the risk on behavior is starting again. So it may be happening. All right, so I got Astro versus USD marked down here. We'll get into our coin requests after MAV session. So the way we do this is we're here for about half an hour or so, but we're not going to be around for too long. So we'll talk about what we see happening in the markets today, and then we'll do some quick coin requests on the market. So let us know where you're coming in from, and we'll get started here momentarily. How's your world today, Mav?
It's good. Everything's up. Love to see it.
Yeah, we had to get this silly Fed out of the way. It's like, I don't know what the big deal is. Like, what, a quarter point? Ooh, we saw more volatility today in markets than I've seen in a long time. And I just, plus the market was just getting jerked around left and right by, you know, hey, is there going to be ceasefire? What's going on here? But really the biggest volatility came after Jerome Powell came out and said, yeah, quarter point, we're going up and we're going to do 6 more of them over the year. So I think the initial knee-jerk reaction was, oh shit, you know, they're really getting hawkish here. And then people stepped back and said, maybe that's a good thing that they're that confident that they want to be raising rates into the end of the year. That's not a bad thing. We have had very strong markets into rising rate environments in the past.
Well said. Well said. Okay. In the interest of time, and I'm sure people want to see what's going on with the charts, so I'm going to very quickly switch over to my little presentation for today. So for those who, I think this is kind of like a gaming thing. There's this tier list, and what it's all about is ranking from, you got your top rank, S rank, on through A, B, C, and D. And it's basically just meant to represent or compare, you know, in this case, we're talking about 30 different ways of making money in the crypto space. And making money is kind of loosely defined as like you start with a lower amount and you end up with a higher amount. But yeah, as crypto is very diverse in terms of applications and ways to get into it, there are many different ways to make money in the space. So I'm going to do this sort of ranking based off of 3 sort of criteria. The first being risk. That's the most important thing we want to quantify when talking about any of these methods. And, you know, especially as it relates to, you know, hey, if you're putting money in, what's the risk involved, you know, in order to get that reward, that, you know, return on your investment. So the second part is going to be difficulty. There is definitely a wide gamut of difficulty involved with some of these methods. Some are very easy or, you know, idiot proof, if you will. And some take a lot of steps and require certain expertise or knowledge. So the last part is the reward. So, you know, if you're taking a lot of risk, hopefully you're getting a lot of reward out of that. But, you know, that's where we're going to quickly get in here. So the first method I want to talk about is the good old HODL. HODL is, in my opinion, sort of this A rank bread and butter method of making money in the space, because all you're really doing is just holding on for dear life. You are stacking sats. And that's the most important part, is when we talk about HODL, we're talking about Bitcoin and maybe some of the top 10 coins. That's it. We're not talking about HODLing your shitcoin bags, ad infinitum. That's how you lose money in the space, because things change so fast. You can't be holding on to these very heavy bags. So that's why, even during times like these, we want to be holding on for dear life. We want to be increasing our stack of sats here. And yeah, it helps you get through times like these. So next, I want to talk about DCA. So DCA is dollar cost averaging. And I think broadly, it is this method, this way of making money where you're just buying, no matter what's happening in the market, just on a recurring basis, you're just buying, if it's a dip, if it's a blip, whatever you're doing, maybe the 1st and the 15th or whenever you have it scheduled for a recurring buy on whatever platform you're using. That's when you're buying. And over time, the whole point is to get your average entry point down, so that you're basically, if it goes up, hey, that's great. So there are calculators out there that will show you like, hey, if you bought $100 of Bitcoin every month for the last 4 years, you would have seen like a 600% return on your investment. And that's great. That's, as simple as it gets. There's some studies out there. There's a smart DCA where you're trying to like better time those entry points. And by and large, the studies have shown that like you're probably going to miss out, or you're probably going to misjudge the market moves if you're just trying to be smart about when you're getting in. The better way of doing it is just to kind of blindly, just do it on a recurring scheduled basis. And more often than not, you're going to do better than the people who are trying to guess where to catch the falling knife, et cetera. So moving along, another kind of really interesting, but I think kind of undersold method in the space is getting interest rewards from these centralized exchanges. So these have definitely come into their own last couple of years. This is where platforms like Crypto.com, Coinbase, Voyager, et cetera, they're basically paying you to keep your tokens on there. You have to make sure that you're using the right tokens. You have to make sure that you have the minimum balance, et cetera. But this is basically free money. If you're, especially if you're using something like a stable coin, then you're just getting paid to wait to buy the dip. So you're double dipping on your money, and that's great. That's why it's a really good way. But of course, not your keys, not your cheese. Not your keys, not your Bitcoin. You have to take that risk into account in that, hey, the exchange could go down. They could be under SEC investigation like BlockFi, or you just a lot of different risks you're taking on with that. So just be aware of that, especially as it relates to centralized exchanges. Now, for the next method, we want to do play to earn, which is, it's really starting to come into its own, but I think right now is kind of D tier, because a lot of times you're going to have to put up a lot of upfront costs to get like the NFTs that are involved with the, for example, Axie Infinity is a good example of this, where you're just putting thousands of dollars down to get the Axies so you can go play and you can be rewarded for playing. But it's just, I don't think it's good for the people that, you want to quit your full-time job and go play video games and get paid. There's sometimes the risk reward ratio is nice, but I think right now it's very nascent. I think it still needs to come into its own. So definitely D tier with that one. Another D tier one, I think, is referrals. And that might surprise some people, because it's like, hey, if I get my friends onto a platform, that'd be free money for me. And yeah, if you can game the referral system, sure. But a lot of times what will happen is you're subject to the whims of the terms and conditions. Your friend has to do a certain number of transactions or be on the platform for a certain number of days. It ends up being not a great amount of return on your investment in terms of time versus trying to get people on there. I myself got a bunch of people on Binance, and last year finally got booted off of there because I'm a US citizen. So all that passive income I had gotten from getting people on Binance, I had to say goodbye to that. So it's definitely, it's a nice little short-term boost. It definitely is free money in respect to you don't have to put a whole lot of effort into it. But I think just isn't a consistent good method unless you're like a content creator or someone like that. So moving along to let's say B tier one, let's do technical analysis. This is Doc's bread and butter. But as you've probably seen on YouTube here, people have quite a misunderstanding of what technical analysis is about. It's not about predicting the future. It's not about, somehow using a crystal ball to say like, oh yeah, Bitcoin's going to do this. It's a tool for making decisions, as Doc often says. So when TA is done right, it is, maybe S or A tier method of, getting into the markets and making wise decisions. But for how most people use it, they're using it as a crutch for their inability to look beyond what the price is doing, or using some wacky indicator to try to make some wacky conclusion when they'd be better off just trying to see what the price is doing and see what the projects are doing and what's upcoming in the markets or big news events or something like that. So definitely something to keep in mind if you want to be more of the trader side. I would say C tier is minting and airdrops. This is effectively free money, or you might have to pay for like the transaction costs when minting an NFT. But like, I think right now it's just such a dart toss that it can't sustain itself as a good money making method unless you're getting really lucky consistently. So I think for most people, the amount of time to research some of these airdrops or the new minting NFTs generally is not going to be worth it unless you're really good or really like deep into that space. Now, getting up to an S tier type money-making method is on-chain analysis. This is all about using statistical models and blockchain data to basically see what macro the markets are doing and make better, more informed decisions. I like to say it's a combination of fundamental analysis, which is looking into the projects themselves, and technical analysis, which is looking at price charts and using models and methods to kind of discern where the price is going next.
Hey Mav, just real quick, could you explain what the different tiers mean? S, A, B, C, and D?
Yeah, so S is the best, okay? And D is the worst. And this is not to say D is something you should stay away from or that you should only focus on S tier. This is kind of, you should have multiple ways of making money. You should have multiple different methods employed. For some people, a D tier money-making method, as I rank them, might be an A tier for them. This is completely subjective, but this is how I view them in 2022, sort of their validity for most people. And unless you're willing to get in very deep on some of these methods, it's not worth it. Now, in the case of like on-chain analysis, I think it very much is worth learning, at least just from a rudimentary perspective. So that's where our service ReadySet.Vision is all about teaching you that and helping you understand that. It's a great way to get into the space. All right, I got to move along pretty fast here. So the next one I'm going to talk about is NFTs. I think that's C tier right now for most people. Obviously, some people have made a boatload of money with that, but I think for most people right now, it's just not in a good spot. Especially it's going kind of downtrend in terms of interest. So there's some breakout winners, obviously, but for the vast majority of them, it's a casino. And I just don't think it's a good way to be putting your money up right now, unless you know what you're doing specifically. Moving along, I would say an A tier is staking and baking. This is where you're putting money aside. It's kind of earning these passive rewards. You're basically a validator or node on the network. And yeah, it's a pretty low risk, high reward sort of method. It's definitely come into its own in 2022. There's a lot of really good projects to be staking on right now. It's just kind of seen an explosion. It's definitely something I would say, if you discounted staking back in like 2017, 2018, check it out again, because it's come a long way. It's doing a lot of these really cool things right now. Something that has not come a long way, and I would say is either C tier or D tier, is IDOs, IEOs, or ICOs. These are initial coin offerings, initial DEX offering, initial exchange offering. They're basically all the same thing. As like, hey, there's a new coin launching, and there you go. Boom, people who got in early usually benefit. The rest of the people get the bags. And yeah, if you've been around a little while, you know the drill here. I would say for the vast majority of the projects entertaining these, not worth it. But there has been some breakout winners with IDOs recently. That's been kind of cool to watch. But for the vast majority, I would say people should stay away from. Now, an S tier one that's still very nascent. I think this is still, for the vast majority of people, is not going to be good. But when it's into its own, and this is Doc's kind of baby, it's options. This is the, I would say, pinnacle of, say, trading in the space when we have the tools to implement it correctly, and especially for us US traders when we're allowed to do so. But yeah, this is where we'll eventually see the space go in terms of trading sense. This is what we want to see from a tools perspective. Definitely is, Doc can speak more to this, but I think it's definitely something that will be exciting to watch the development of. On the opposite side of things, I think for most people, trading bots, not worth it. Now you can spend a lot of time kind of tweaking those, getting them right, and maybe it will work out for you. But for most people, I think trading bots, D tier, very easily. I want to say for A tier are these sort of hot pies, and I say pies, they're like portfolios. So like, what are the best, or say like the projects that are going to be doing something over the next month, have a release, have some sort of upcoming listing or launch or whatever. These are the projects that are really hot right now that it's sort of buy the rumor, sell the news. And that's why they're A tier, because if you use something like coinmarketcal.com, you can kind of see the upcoming events and the things that people are going to be talking about in a couple of weeks, especially for those big projects. And it's just been consistently a really good way of making money in the space for the last couple of years. Just really, really good. Similar to that, I would say another A tier is the sort of paradigm pies. So this is paradigms, basically sectors. So a sector being like metaverse or DeFi or, GameFi or NFTs, all these sort of tokens that are loosely associated with that. This is, I think, in a broad sense, in a big picture, long-term perspective, let's say you buy up like 10 metaverse projects, and tomorrow Google announces that they're creating their own metaverse. All those projects are going to go way up. And that's why having a nice diversified set of these paradigm pies, I think, is just a really, really solid way of getting ahead, especially if we're talking about some of the upcoming or trending sort of sectors in the space. Another sort of pies are like these platform pies. So this is more related to like all the projects that are being built on Polkadot or Cosmos right now. These trending platforms that are really doing well. Or maybe let's go look at some of these professionally managed portfolios, the big VC firms. What are they investing in? And kind of echoing that in your own diversification. This is pretty good, but a lot of times you'll be missing, say, like the starting bell, or you'll be getting into something after it's already reached maturity. And yeah, it's a good, solid method. That's why it's B tier, but I don't think there's much to say here other than that. A good A method is cashback cards or crypto back cards. This is where you're spending money and you're getting crypto back as a reward. Not much else to say there. I think that's free crypto. Crypto is like the new airline miles, as far as I'm concerned. If you're using a credit card or a debit card that gives you crypto back for every transaction, hey, that's free sats as far as I'm concerned. And I want more of that. Something that I think is in 2022 for most people is mining as C tier. I think it's just too much startup capital required, too much managing that. If that's your hobby, if you want to manage it almost like a business, cool. That's a really good way of making passive, a little bit more active income. But for most people, I would say stay away from it. It's not worth getting into. It's a lot of time and effort and sweat to do that. Another C tier is token sniffing. This sounds weird, but if you go to tokensniffer.com, you can kind of see what's upcoming in terms of these new tokens being listed. And yeah, what's driving volume. So this is like being in the trenches and looking for those diamonds in the rough. Very hard to do correctly, but if you can nail it, you're doing a really good job. But for most people, I think this is a C tier. Something that I would say is definitively D tier is moonshot dart toss, which is like going on to 4chan, going on to Reddit, going on to Twitter, looking for these low cap moonshots and letting someone else tell you what to get into. Not worth it for most people. I think that's not the way to do it in 2022. Moving along, yield farming and also liquidity pools. I think S tier, very, very easy way to get in. Once you kind of get over the learning curve, that's the hardest part about this, is just kind of understanding what you have to do. But this is passive income, really good, consistent stuff. There's a little bit of risk because it is DeFi and it's complicated, but the rewards are excellent. You're seeing sometimes APRs over like 50, 70, 100% for not a lot of effort. And I think that's really, really good in this day and age. B tier is swing trading. I would say D tier or C tier is like day trading. For most people, if you know what you're doing, this is okay. But yeah, as we've seen over the past couple of weeks, things can happen that move the markets like today. And Doc will get into that in a sec. Consistently, D tier is margin trading. Do not, in any sense, short a disinflationary asset unless you really, really know what you're doing and you have the capital to set aside to do that. Some people get really lucky with this, but for most people, they are getting blown up consistently using margin. Stay away from that if you don't know what you're doing. That is you have to be an expert to be touching that stuff as far as I'm concerned. Kind of similar to that is fundamentals in this day and age. A white paper, a team, like a project website, it's going to tell you some things, but it's not going to tell you everything. And I think it's mattering less and less as crypto goes along. Definitely something just isn't as important anymore. BAT, which is the Brave token using, basic attention token using the Brave browser. You get paid for basically watching ads in your browser. And it's a nice little passive income. I think it's a little bit annoying, so I don't do it, but it's a good way to make some passive income. Stablecoins obviously are stable. They have some risk right now because they might be being looked into by the SEC and stuff like that. But consistently is a really good way to make some money passively, hedge your risk. And yeah, just good all around. And lastly, masternodes in 2022, I think are not worth it for the vast majority of people. I think actually, I'm going to make them D tier. Not good because it encourages you to keep holding even when the price is going down, down, down. So don't do that. I think masternodes, not worth it. So that's my tier list for 2022 with 30 different methods of making money. Hopefully that was a little bit insightful. But now we're going to move into Doc talking about the charts and what's going on. Why is the market going up, up, up right now?
Thanks, Mav. That was a great job. That was very interesting, actually. It gave me food for thought for a lot of things. Let me take a look here at the charts, and we've got some initial requests here. I'm going to keep it fairly tight today, so we don't have really that much time to go on this. But I want to start with BTC versus the US dollar. This is my North Star. This is the log chart on monthly, and this is still not changed polarity. This is still a big, big, ugly consolidation, but it's actually much tighter than the one that we had for 3 years. You can see from 2018 to the latter part of 2020. All right, so still good there, still all right. I'm going to go down to the daily chart, daily linear chart, and you can see that today's actually been pretty interesting with the Fed meeting in the US getting out of the way, and this has turned the spigot on for risk on again, risk on assets. So we're seeing that with it looks like Ethereum is wanting to break out outside this triangle as well too. We have an aggressive buy at about 2,800 here, more conservative buy up at about 3,300. So what I'm going to do from here is go over to your request. The first one that came in was from Astro, and I will do what I can here to find these, and hopefully I get the right coin. If I get the wrong one, please let me know. There is so little history on this one, but I do like the fact that it is in a primary uptrend, and that's all that really we can work with at this point. So I can't even put any technicals on this, but right now, after the initial coin offering, at least on CoinEx here, this got drilled from 320 back down, but it's building back up again. Now, the only concern I would have is on the market, which is really red hot today. It's not keeping up with things. So keep in mind for that, I would be a buyer above 220 on, if that is the correct coin for Astroport Secret. So we've been watching Secret, and I'm just going to do these on Tether. For right now, I would be a buyer above $5 on this after it breaks and creates a higher low, higher high combination. So that's secret. Next one that we have is ANC. And again, guys, if I get the wrong coin here, please let me know if I get the wrong asset. But ANC still got some work to do. This is still in a primary downtrend. I would wait until this one starts to put in higher lows and higher highs and breaks this descending pattern to the downside. Right now, still in distribution for ANC. Next one I have here is SNX versus Tether. Okay, so still, this one's in such a nasty downtrend that I'm gonna force it to go above 6 before I give any kind of capital to this one at all. So this one, I'm gonna hold off an aggressive buy till it's over 6. Do not bother scraping the bottom with this one until it proves itself to be in accumulation. Right now is in pretty nasty distribution. Next one that we have is Dragon Chain. Okay, Dragon Chain, we're going to go versus the US dollar. This one also is a pretty nasty distribution. What I would say is, let's see, probably we're going to be going, I would say above 9 cents on this one. So I really want this one to prove it and get above this level here for Dragon Chain. So not in a great shape at this point. Okay, last one I have on the list by request is STX or Stacks. And this one's had a couple of interesting spikes lately, but the spikes have been sold into. And so if you're seeing distribution, if you're seeing overhead supply, believe it. Believe the market when it's telling you what it's showing, right? So don't disagree with it and say you know better. So what I would say is that this one, until it's over the 200-day moving average, which is in the green here, just not that interested in it. Okay, I will take just a couple more requests and then we're going to have to wrap up for today. Let's see. Okay, so we're going to do CLV. Okay, so CLV versus Tether. Okay, this one is also in bad shape. I would say wait till it gets above 65 cents. This one needs to clear this descending trend line. Needs to clear that descending trend line and go above the recent lower high and start making higher highs and higher lows. So I'd say about 65 cents would be it on Clever. Okay, let's see. CLV, Hero, no, we're not Hero. Link, Chainlink. Chainlink, the old mighty Chainlink. Let's see how it's doing here. Not so well lately. I would wait until Chainlink gets above about 20. So right now, Chainlink's in a pretty nasty distribution cycle. Wait, I don't know why, and it doesn't matter as to why it's in there. The market's telling you what everybody else is thinking about it. Okay, so Hero versus BTC. All right. Okay. Which one is Hero? I used to chart this one and I can't find it now. Meta Hero. What is the ticker on Hero? Hero versus BTC. I can't, I can't,
Yeah, it should be Hero.
Yeah. Well, it's Meta Hero. I could try that one, but this one's in, I don't know that this is the right coin. Okay. So that's not looking too good right now. Not looking too good. Okay. Hero versus, yeah. Okay. So, okay, let's go to Luna. Luna, I think, is in better shape. Yes, indeed. Luna's actually doing nicely. This is one of the better ones. So right now what I see, and this will be the last one that I do today, this is in kind of a cup with handle pattern setting up right now. And actually it's doing really well. Let's go to the next level of analysis. Let's put it on the RSI Laguerre. And what I like here is that the fact that this is range expansion, range contraction. So what we're seeing is a lot of energy setting up for the next move. I would wait until it gets above 95. So take yourself into strength on the next move. And it also looks good on a weekly chart too. So really nice chart. One of the best ones in crypto right now is Luna. Okay, guys, that is all we got. That's all we got for today. Unfortunately, we're time constrained today. So appreciate your consideration. And thanks for listening to us today. Matt, have you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think the market is responding how we kind of anticipated it would. And we'll see where things go from here. But yeah, if you want to get some more insight as to what's going on and how to better plan for these market moves, how to better respond from a trading perspective, that's what we're here to help with. That's what ReadySetCrypto is all about. That's what ReadySetTrade is all about. Definitely get onto our Discord if you haven't done so already, where we're talking about this stuff every day. And yeah, just take care out there. I think things will hopefully improve from this point on. I think a lot of the uncertainty has been removed from the markets right now. But yeah, things can definitely go sideways very quickly. We're still in a liminal space. So we'll see what happens from here. But I think crypto is in a very good position long-term and big picture. So yeah, I think this is the start, hopefully, of some exciting times. But at the same time, we have to be vigilant and anticipate that things can go backwards as well. But yeah, until next week, thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you then. Cheers, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, I think the negativity is, for the most part, priced in. So that's good. So up and away. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. Take care now.
Cheers.